Hello, friends. If someone can give me a sign that you can see me, that would be wonderful for quality control. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you very much for coming in and seeing this on replay, if you are. But, especially a very big thank you to the folks who've made it here, who figured out the time. You passed the test. You, you figured out the time that we're going to kick off with. Can you guys hear me? Can somebody give me a sign? Looks like a yes. Trug's here. Morning, Trug. Looks like John's with us. So we've got this. This is as many people as we used to have back on the old live streams that were cool. Andy, Fabrizio. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. Hey, isn't it? Oh, Takumi, thank you for having someone in from Australia too. Cruiser. So your cruiser must be your cruiser in progress. See, I've seen you guys on YouTube, and you probably joined Patreon with different names. Thank you very much. But John, morning, bro. It's understanding everybody's names across all of the platforms can be a challenge. But hey, thank you. That's really cool to see everybody here. Thank you very much, guys. And already one thumbs up. Oh, Jack. Hey, buddy. Cool. Okay. Now listen, if I forget those names, I'm really sorry. And I don't expect you to, don't change your YouTube names. I understand we do want a bit of anonymity, especially on the YouTubes. Sadly, I don't have that. So I can't, I'll have to start another account to go around and write nasty comments like some people like to do. I'm just kidding. So how's the quality? One of the reasons that I pulled back from... No comment, Drug. But in either event, it's your fault. One of the reasons I pulled back... so here we've got Harriet Jones. And for you who are, basically that gag was for Tabs, who's a huge Doctor Who fan, and Nate Bliss. So I knew Nate's a really big Doctor Who fan, and excellent. Thank you very much for the feedback on the sound, John. Trug, always, just a little bit. Dodie, mate, long time no see. I really like the yellow. They had like an ice yellow decal in the kit that I've repainted to bring it up to this tone. But the pilot is obviously a female sculpt, so Harriet came to mind. And if you've seen Doctor Who, Harriet Jones, Prime Minister, it was one of the running gags in the series, and I could not miss the opportunity to pounce on that. She looked a little lonely this morning, and for the contrast, morning mate, Simon, long time no see, bro, how are you? For the contrast between the two different suits, I also thought it would be cool to show them together, at least initially. We could do a completely different show on how they're different, and also look at the volume difference, the size difference, texture, completely different. I mean, if I didn't know better, I would say these were done by different people. It's only because I've slaved over them personally that I know they're done by me. I would say this one, the Mark 44 Ammonite, is more of it's a hardcore Maschinen Krieger finish. So it's not going to be appealing to everyone. Whereas Harriet, this is more of a different look I'm kind of working on, and the feedback so far has kind of proved me right. This one's more of this one should appeal to more people outside of the core Maschinen Krieger fan base, because it's painted a little bit more like a Gunpla in some ways. It's taken some inspiration from work that I've done kind of recently. There's a bit of Warhammer inspiration in here, quite a few things. So yeah, I was just explaining. So live streams, I've kind of held back from them a little because I'm not currently set up. Broadcasting is quite a different game to recording videos and uploading them. It's the same with podcasting too. I'm sorry for the side story, but just in case you're wondering why I haven't been doing more of this, being able to record something, edit it in post software, and bring it up to a very high quality is a little bit more less gear intensive than it is to broadcast. Broadcasting at the same quality is very challenging. Already I can see, I'm not sure how this one will look in replay, but I can't. Uh, Ivan, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. I can't broadcast at that same quality. However, for some things like this, where it's mostly a lecture, it's probably a very good and engaging platform to use. Let's get into it. We'll leave the Mark 44. He's not actually attached to the base. Since doing this base, I love this base, and I don't like this one. So I'm going to go for a bit of a redo. Do something that's more reminiscent of the package art. We'll just leave him in the background. He can lurk back there. Gosh, that is a cool looking suit, isn't it? Let's bring it in for one gratuitous close up. Don't fall. It's been much agonized over. My whole YouTube career has been based on this poor guy. But wow, that's a finish, isn't it? So personally, I really like this one, but the time involved, etc., is quite something. We'll cover him another time. But he's basically almost finished. I'll release that one shortly. First, I wanted to get into phrasing, Lincoln. First, I wanted to get into Harriet. You guys are wanting to ask questions? Hey, based on the little thing that I wrote out, for quiz for you guys is what you're saying. Okay, okay. I didn't understand where that was going for a sec. Hey, so Con's with us. Con, you have a very sharp eye for detail. Do you like that I painted this one? I wanted it to look like a periscope type glass. I'm not sure how the effect carried, but just to make it somewhat a little bit different. It's usually, I don't see it really picked out as a detail. These suits don't have a lot of visual detail, but the things that are on there look like they have a purpose. So I went with a bit of that for a look there. I'll give her a bit of a spin around. Now today I wanted to cover and help somewhat demystify, or at least make it look simple and approachable, the idea of putting together custom schemes like this. This one's not on the package, and as some of you know, that when I worked for this property, I did a great number of custom schemes for them, design them from scratch. Now, inspiration, as our mate Bob Ross would say, I have been watching a lot of Bob recently. I just really like his show. It's so different to what I do, but also so much the same that I really get into it. The beauty is everywhere. I'm always having a giggle about that as I walk around. For me, inspiration is everywhere. So the groundwork, the colors, it was all inspired just by things I see. Now, I believe we can approach it from a few different directions. And one of the things I wanted to mention was I'd like you to, rest assured that when I started this project, I did not exactly have all of this set in stone yet. I didn't start out with the slightly green plant, the yellow focal point on the groundwork there, the blue rock. That was not all done in one step. It's like sitting down and trying to eat the elephant at Korean barbecue in one go. Yes, you can do it, but you probably need to come back multiple times, or change down to something more palatable like a cow. Yep, that was weird. So what I did, I was going to walk you through it. He's awesome. Harriet's very offended, Andy. You can tell how she's standing that she's a lady. See? No testicles. A little Britain joke. I love that show. Starting out, I was going through, as you guys know, a couple of the paint companies will send me things, and I can get different paint things from different companies, which is, it's a blessing and a curse. Uh, I I think it's bad if I just throw that out there publicly because it looks confusing to people, and I understand that in the real world this stuff actually does cost money, and I'm loath I'm loath to fuel rampant consumerism, and people having to, poor people having to buy things that they don't need. So I'm trying to be very selective. I hope that came out well. What I did was I saw this paint set come out last year from our mates at Ammo, and I like the idea of it because it's just so different. It's outside my realm of knowledge and expertise. I have never worked on nor looked at Russian fighter jets for inspiration, but man, they look awesome. So I see you guys mocking me. I see it, and it's funny. So you stop getting me off target. Uh, so I saw this and I thought, haze, hey, because I'm start thinking in Spanish, haze. This has some possibilities. I particularly liked the version at the top because this one is the much angst over camo that we see. If you see this model done, what is it, the SU-35, you'll see it painted in that color scheme, right? Which is for good reason. It's awesome. But look at this one at the top. Will it still focus? Yep, okay. The night scheme. So immediately I thought, hey, night ops, possibility, opportunity. Now, the art here and the paints contained within are completely different. So, as I suspect, the people they're asking or the people they're getting to do their to do their box art are not. Sorry, who just joined? Sorry, I missed the greeting. Very sorry. But I highly expect that the people doing the box art for them are not aware of what colors are inside. So the blues, the greys, and the dark color are all completely different. However, it still gives you an idea for a start point. Thankfully, the colors put together are quite nice. Now, pop this off camera so I don't knock everything over. Looking at it, 3 colors in this set. Oh, it's Mark. Hey, Mark. Yeah, the colors are quite off, Mark, sadly. But the colors included are quite nice. This one is more of a cyan, so I immediately did not want to use this one. It just doesn't, it's not right for me now. What I did really like was when I popped some of this out and tested it on, put it on some white paper to see what the color actually was. It's actually a very nifty, as the name suggests, night blue grey, and it matches up not too far away from dark sea blue, marine sea blue from the Vallejo range, which we need some interoperability between these paint systems because, sadly, this stuff doesn't hand brush, worth anything. The other colors that appealed to me in it were this light blue. I mean, what have they called it? Sorry, it's having trouble choosing between what to focus on. Light blue. Geez, they didn't spend a lot of time on that name, did they? It's of close enough tones that these immediately I knew could work together, especially with some filtering. And the other one that's not bad in the set is this light stone, which initially I thought could be useful for the helmet. I decided to move away from it towards the end, but long story longer, I then decided that these two were going to form the basis for my Maschinen Krieger Night Ops camo. Now, the 2 reasons being that they're not too far from what we've seen Yokoyama-san use. He would probably sign off on these colors if I told them it was his idea. He would go, yes, I couldn't agree with me more, and he'd let me use them. But they're different enough from the usual color scheme. So boom, color scheme was born. Now putting it into play here, this is covered in the tutorials, of course. I've gone with the what Yokoyama-san calls the counter color scheme. Actually, they're mixing Spanish waters. It's a Spanish paint wars in a cup. they intermix just fine. In fact, I quite like I quite like thinning the Vallejo paints for hand painting with the ammo paints because they're so thin. And you can see I put it on in a counter color. Maschinen Kriegers, they look pretty good. You can flip it, of course, but dark on top, and then with the light blue bands to help break it up a little bit because the shape is quite. The shape is doesn't have as much visual detail for those of us accustomed to looking at Gunpla and Warhammer. So using at least a couple of colors does help to give us a lot more to look at. But I've kept the light blue quite minimal to counterbalance where we might expect shadows to appear. And that helps. That's what Yokohama-san calls his counter color look. And it's a nice, good classic to apply to Maschinen Krieger. So when I'm approaching this, and the more new variables that I introduce, I try to then keep some things traditional. So that way we can still connect it. The colors are completely different, the finish is different, the texture is different, so the patterns are not too different. I hope that makes sense. We need something to then anchor it back. Hey Tristan, you guys having a little flame war in the comment section. I'm glad I'm talking. So that's how that was born. Now, next choice, of course, is that we need to go with some ID colors. I initially wanted to go with red, but I've overused red recently. This is sadly a problem. Let me pop this out. Sorry for the noise. Hey, Sterling. Now, for the Russian look, red would be so awesome because nothing says Russian or even Soviet equipment like big red stars. You got a big red stars, right? So red would have worked really well on this. In fact, I was going to go for big red section on the front here. And I had a few ideas mapped out. Then the Prowler was released. We knew the Prowler was coming. So, I mean, you can't do an original Prowler without red. And I just done the stealth suits. The stealth suits also had red faces. I think it's part of our job as artists to bring our audience new looks, new color combinations, etc. So red was going to be my default, but of course it's overused. So looking at it, could have gone orange, could have gone yellow. So I went yellow, obviously. Now I've gone for this one because right at this time, a bunch of other Spanish waters showed up and I really wanted to test them. So I've gone with this. Make a color yellow. And ooh, it's really good stuff. It is different. Initially, I was suspect that it was just the same stuff. Yeah, right. The answer is always yellow. Hey, Stephen. Morning, mate. Welcome. All you Aussies have finally got up. I just had to test this stuff out. And the fact that this... I also wanted to test out whether it was an actual match. Talking with Alex. And he says... It's funny. So he says his family name, he keeps his family name and the business name, he thinks of them as separate things, which I guess makes some sense. So when I asked him, how do you say your name? He says, and of course my pronunciation is not correct, but he says, Vallejo. Our Spanish friends could help me, but Vallejo. Then when he says this, he's telling me, you English speakers say Vallejo. And I had never heard that before. And all of the English speakers I've mentioned and heard, and we've talked about this, all of my English speaker friends have said Vallejo or Vallejo. It's the other one I've maybe heard. And then my Japanese friends say Faleho. It's flat, but they say fa. Which one is correct? I have no idea. It's this one. One of the things I really liked, Alex says, and so does the what do you call it? The comparison chart, the paint chart inside the box, tells us that these match up with Mr. Color. So of course they're quite interested to work with me because they know I know Mr. Color inside out, and people watching my content know that they're more exposed to or they're aware of Mr. Color at least. So as a test, and I mentioned this in the tutorials, this is all of the yellow except for the sensor on the nose. The sensor on the nose is Mr. Color Yellow, hand painted on. So it is, I'm not telling fibs when I say it's 100% airbrush finish, except for the interior details and the sensor on the nose. Yeah, but you also pronounce that differently than we would, don't you? Because you have additional language skills that we don't have, bro. Yeah, so that's that. I went with that, and it was also some consultation with Tom Moore. It comes with ice yellow decals. I thought they were a little bit underpowered for the color range. Yokoyama-san's look is fantastic. We all love it. It's a classic. Hey, you've got to do that in Discord after this, so we can see. I got to hear that. Is it Walhejo? I know I shouldn't do that into a microphone. The ice yellow, it just didn't have enough chromatic oomph, and I know I'm showing this to a bunch of us also love Gunpla, Warhammer, and what have you. So I wanted to give it a little bit more oomph, and it matches up with other things that I wanted to do. Going with this scheme, I remembered back to some box art of night bombers over Europe that Yokoyama-san had shown me in a model shop in Akihabara there. And I really liked how the night dark colors were painted over an orange ground. And it was completely stylized. It wasn't realistic whatsoever. But I loved it, and it just looked so nifty and cool to me. So that's what I've gone with here. In painting the internals here, the usual Machine & Krieger color is a mix of Mr. Color Brown and lightened down slightly. I'm talking about the helmet ring. So the helmet ring and usually this power pipe at the back are done with that orange color. In choosing yellow, in choosing your color palette, try not to put the whole color wheel on. Hey tweets! Yeah, they're pretty good. Out of all of the watery paints that I've tried, they're pretty good, and they do dry a little tougher. Apparently they do have a bit more resin stuff in them, and they dry satin, which is nice. These ammo paints are a little dry and a little thin because they're for, what do you call it? They want the more militaristic look. That's the look that people have been sold on for tanks. Even if you get up close to tanks, they actually have, they do have a little bit of a satin sheen under the dust. But for mecha and what have you, they really have tried to approximate the Mr. Color look. So it is perfect for me to kind of use and mix into my methodology here to try to approximate some of the stuff. But I'm not going to go away from lacquer paints. They just they're part of what I do. I'll just mix them in. We've got school holidays here, and Tabs has been home, so it was a perfect time to go all acrylic. Plus, I wanted to do this for you guys. I wanted to invent, at least for myself, some strategies and methodologies that I could share with you for those of you who only work with acrylics, and show that we can do it, and the finish can turn out just fine. So this was for you guys as much as me, and it's fun to do something brand new. So this is actually the first Machine & Krieger model I've ever done 100%, except for that part, in acrylics. And it's the first, yes, it's the first one I've fully airbrushed as well. The other ones I airbrushed, I did hand paint in part of the camo demarcation, but this one was a full airbrush job with the masking putty. So many firsts for this one. Very happy how it turned out. Continuing on with the color thing, let's finish this one up. So the colors of the suit are represented on the base too. Wait a minute, how to approach this? I don't want to overcomplicate it. It's all a very limited color palette in truth. It's just very strategically, cleverly, and artfully placed around the model. It's easy to explain. It's easy to see once it's pointed out. It's all about where to do it, how much to do it. And that one will take a bit of practice and eye. So as I was mentioning just a few seconds ago, I got sidetracked, sorry. The power pipes, they're usually that orange color is their default for the genre. It would not work. They wouldn't look right for this scheme. Plus, I wanted to be, as much as possible original with this one. So, uh, green won't work, red won't work, the other colors won't work. You end up with too much of the rainbow. And you'll know what I mean. We're all guilty of it at some stage. You look around the model, hey, this part could be red, this part could be blue, this part could be yellow. And boom, the whole color wheel is on there, and it just never sits right. It's very hard to put on there. So I recommend. Yeah, Ivan. Sorry, mate. Uh, I did for the children's. So we've got to entrap people to our silly little world. We have to show them that they can do it with an airbrush before we sucker them in and get them hand painting them as well. Uh, in fixing up the colors for it though, I wanted to be 100% original, and as possible, I like to get away from Yokoyama-san's control. Uh, he, we've become quite good, better. At least we're better friends again, which is good. I've been reaching out to him more, and we've been having a bit of a talk, so this is good. I think I've got enough distance now that I can get away with it. So I wanted to invent a new one for this. In looking through the colors, I thought, yeah, I'm going to keep it very simple. Well, you guys are all the converted, Sterlo. I mean, most of us do hand paint as well, but this one is, of course it's for you, but it's also to just make it a little bit more appealing to the masses. And I wanted to do something different. It's fun for me to challenge, ooh, can I pull this off? Will it still be good? I was super curious, I've got all these water-based paints and airbrush ones. I wanted to see how it could look. If anything, just to prove that, at worst case, I could have proved that I hate it and I would never do it again, but I actually quite like how this one turned out. It doesn't completely change me over. I'll flick backwards and forwards, but I feel like at least the old pony has learnt a new trick. I can now do this, which is it's kind of cool. And the yellow. So the yellow started becoming a mix. And this is where it starts to get a little bit fancy. And of course, this is in tutorial. The inside of the cockpit, once the Vallejo stuff showed up, I didn't use any more ammo because I just like how the colors are all... I've got the air versions and the game versions of these, and they're perfect for this sort of work, two hands. So the closest approximation I've got to the yellow base is this one. What is it called? Moon yellow. It's the brightest, most pure yellow in their little range there. Nate! Hey man! Welcome! I've already talking about the Harriet Jones joke that was for you and Tabs. My buddies who are Doctor Who fans. So yeah, this yellow was probably the closest. It's a little brighter. The Mecha yellow has a little bit more red in it, but it's close enough. This one, but then to knock it down, I've gone with a yellow ochre color. They call it what? Desert yellow. But that's basically what it is. It's a yellow ochre color. And what you'll see is, once you look very closely, the yellow ochre is actually the #1 color theme over this entire model. It took me a bit of a wind up to get that point out, but this is the model, this is the color that ties all of this together. It's very simple, yet it'll take a bit of doing for you to figure out how to get this in. So, all of the colors that tie the model together have this one as a base. So if you look carefully, the ring... Adam, hey man, welcome. You made it. Listen, you're going to have to catch up all the good stuff. I've been going for half an hour, but I'm very glad you guys made it. If you have a very close look, all of those colors have varying amounts of this and this mixed in, which helps them to sit together well. Now the leather is more complicated. The leather was a homebrew color that was close to English uniform for Vallejo. I don't have that color. In the tutorial video, I show you how I cleverly mix that with a couple of other ones. And I do feel quite clever about it. Because basically I had to start out with, you know, Vallejo has a version of Scorched Brown. Nikki, Controgman, can you help me? Do you remember the Vallejo name for Scorched Brown? You remember Scorched Brown from the old days? See, I still look at these paints, the game color, and I remember the Citadel versions that these are homaged from. How would we say that in Spanish? Homaged. So they had one that was basically, it's a lovely burnt umber color. Citadel called it Scorched Brown. Vallejo copied it and they called it another one. And because it's red base, I needed to alter it. That's something to look forward to in the tutorial video, because I'll show you how to make another really nifty color just by mixing in colors that you wouldn't otherwise imagine. You know, the magic of mixing color paints, it's actually pretty nifty. Now, moving along, the base then, I'm going to put these out so you can see them. The base also has mostly desert yellow. Oh, khaki. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one from the box. It's it's not this. Sorry, they look the same from a distance. Sorry, it's not khaki. It's desert yellow. It's also in the Game Air range. Yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. It was early and I'd only had one coffee. And this is the correct one. So the Game Air version of this is what I'm really loving about Vallejo, in that, Stephen, that's it, mate. Charred brown. Yes, that's it, because it's, yeah, God, whole stream is now ruined. I know. I was on fire right up until that moment. Oh, it's funny. So, wow, Adam. So yeah, they match up super well. I can see that the colors are being blown out. I really need a better live stream camera. So the air versions it does save you so much time, because they airbrush really, really well. They do work, really work. I don't think they tip dry as much as ammo too. So getting the base and all of those colors were also laid down with desert yellow. The plant is based with desert yellow, all of them. It just works all around. Then mixing in various amounts to create a gradient away from the top of the suit, mixing in orange, the lighter orange color, and white, so it didn't get too harshly, chromatically brilliant, to keep the softness of the color down, to desaturate the color. Start mixing in various amounts of white, and you can get that as a base color, and that's really cool. Now the rock is the light blue color of the suit, is the base, and that again, the color coherency using a limited palette in your work will make it look more coherent. I know it worked very well because the comments are all love the colors. So our brains understand. Our brain is entertained, but it's not confused, which I know with you lot is easy to do because you're the same as me. So I've kept the color palette nice and simple, but applied well. And if there's one thing, yeah, the flat brown from Tamiya is a lovely color. I considered swapping out to Tamiya for the base, but for illustrative purposes, I did want to keep it relatively simple, because it shows. It just shows how easy it was. And I've just got the paints from these folks. I thought I better use them. When I fully own myself in the future, I think I'm about 12 months out from completely owning myself. Because this year I'm going to do a few tutorials and a little bit of extra work and design work with Vallejo. But after that, and when I say by own myself, if I can say it in a crass way, I'm going to do whatever the hey I want, which will also be a really cool one. I mean, I'm close. The Vallejo people basically say yes to anything I say, except the money. Oddly enough, the pushback comes on the money. But anyway, that should be some fun projects. But it's going a lot better. And Patreon is easily my number one income source for this. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you seeing the vision and supporting where this is going. And I really want to give back value as much as possible. In fact, that's what this whole live stream is about. It's not promised. It's not mentioned anywhere in the little spiel at the beginning of Patreon. I just wanted to do this and give back to you guys. Hook you up for hooking me up. Oh, wasn't that a lovely moment that I've now ruined? Now, light blue, the shadows are the dark blue. So save money and give it to me. Really, no, really, it's been really a magical and really good thing for me. I've never had this much contact feedback and made so many made so many buddies as doing this awesome stuff. All right, Nate is brutal. See the shadows? That's that color. Very, very nifty. So keep it simple. Just place it around different places. Now you can talk about this. I'm really looking forward to it this year. I'm going to move to Sydney. And just because so much is happening there for us, I'm really hoping I can do some more in-person demos and film them and share them with you guys. Just to get this in front of more people. Now, I've done it a little bit more directional too. This would require its own tutorial video. If you can see, it's a bit brighter from this direction, the base, and then coming to the back here, I've let it shadow more, and I've used the blues for shadows. Giant space tuna saved us all. This blue in the shadows there, there's also some dark rust type colors, but the main focal point here is this color again here on the base. And one of the reasons for that too is if you see it in a relaxed pose like this, we do want the colors to go around the model. So they've got the yellow, and they can see the yellow down there too. I think that one will help. And the highlights on the plant are the same highlights as the nuds. The night vision gear that she's wearing, highlights are on the tips of this. So there's some color congruence there as well. Now, it's complicated to explain, isn't it? But when you think about it, it's actually a very simple color palette. These colors here plus the bases there, plus the wrong one here. And that's it. It's all about doing it less but better, which is something I really want to get back to. I don't want to overcomplicate things. It's part of my little life journey, is making things as good as I can, as simply as I can. I can't be the volume guy. I don't think I can do so I can't paint armies, I can't do that. But my mission is to do things very well, yet very simply. I did succumb to using a technique on this that I'm usually not going to do, but it was all right. And I think when we work with acrylics, we need to add acrylics. Acrylics are not as versatile as the lacquer paints. So in some ways, so using the chipping mediums does increase their amount of versatility. Kevin, hey Kevin, Little Plastic People Kevin, did mention on the YouTube channel, I don't think this will have the visual clarity for you to see it, but you've probably noticed I put a hairspray on top of the dark blue. Dark blue went on first, light blue's over the top, and I've chipped off light blue around the edges of the camo. And Kevin mentioned that that's usually seen as an error by some scale modelers. I actually did not know that because I avoid modelers. So we could talk about that in Discord, I guess. But yeah, there's quite a few things. But one of the biggest ones, it's Tabitha's future. I'll suck it up. Financially, it's going to be very difficult for me. But Tabitha is very academically gifted, and Tomoy really helps her along too. They're a fantastic team. I'll need Australia's best schools. There's a better opportunity of getting into better schools if we're in the biggest city. Uh, that's pretty important. And my poor wife, Tomoe, Tomoe is from Tokyo. She liked it. She doesn't mind it here. She liked it initially because it was a nice change, but taking the Tokyo lady out of Tokyo has everything, everything you ever wanted, and everything you didn't ever want is there. And it's not that she's very consumer orientated, but sometimes she want a particular thing, like she's into knitting and handcraft. If you guys have seen that, we're connected on Facebook. She's really into that. All of that stuff is mostly available in Sydney because it's our biggest city. We won't be living downtown, of course. There's no way we could pay for that. It'll be on the outskirts. But still, a train ride in, even if it's an hour, can get us into town. Will work. It sets tabs up for schooling and those sort of things there. And Dad just needs to do the work. That's how life works. Just suck it up, get it done. But plus, I've got some really cool things happening. Hobbyco. This isn't an announcement, but within a not too long time, you guys will be getting this locally. Please don't mention it out on the interwebs yet. But Hobbyco have pulled the trigger, and we're getting this stuff. Woohoo, right? It's awesome. And I'll be able to get it locally. So I need to live there so I can go in there and shoplift it from them. Yeah, limited palette. Really good. But you can get it there, Sterlo. You can get it from Volks USA. They're the distributor there. I don't know. Yeah, a couple of you guys. I will be hooking up a couple of you guys. Don't hound me about it. But I want to. I'm going to demand that Hobbyco send out some samples, and guess who accidentally gets to the top of the list. So yeah, I want you guys to try it out because it is really good stuff, and I'll need some help in showing people how to thin it and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to be a really big thing. Now I've got them out too because I use this one when it really has to work. I use this stuff. So this is their surfacer product. Mr. Surfacer is really good. I do like this stuff better. I think it dries with a slightly better sheen, and it just feels cooler. I know it's hard to describe how that works, but I'm kidding. If I go in there, Hobbyco are so happy about being able to get Gaia because the sales boss there, Ryan San Pedro, you know him, he's in our groups and stuff. Awesome dude. He's the biggest Gaia Notes fan. He smuggled a bunch back from Japan. I hope I'm not getting him in trouble. But he smuggled a bunch back from Japan too on our last trip. And it's just been so hard to get because, very small company. And I'm buddies with them because I've worked with them for ages. And we're going to get some Japan-only specials too, like stuff that's probably not going to be outside of it. I'll see. It's going to be hard for me to go to the US because of the Volks agreement. That makes it really hard, but I might be able to do some stuff for other countries, but we'll go step by step. This is, the old Linc methodology, less but better. I'll keep it simple and I'll keep working out my reach. And, having the Patreon support actually has enabled that too, because I don't have to be scrambling for everything. Yes, Unobtainium. I can get us the Wonder Festival only paints. And again, please don't mention this out because, people will drive poor Ryan nuts if they hear about it. Things like the specialist Gunpla colors, things like that, I will be able to get them in as well. How awesome is that going to be? And it's all because I wanted them, because they're really good. So this one is what I primed this because I wanted to tape it up. The ammo paints probably do work. I mean, the model itself is 100% acrylic. It was based with this, and I used it because the lid of this bottle is my favorite ever. If I could have this lid on every bottle of paint I owned, I would be very happy. And yeah, you guys know I'm being facetious because it's like the worst. It's like the worst thing ever invented, isn't it? And this is after it's been cleaned up too. It just splatters and goes everywhere. So big heads up if you get that one. Get the Badger version if you can. It comes in a much better bottle. It's just so bad. But I am perfecting my technique on closing it. But, again, I can't send that out on the open interwebs. Paul. No tweets. It's a shocker. And because it pops closed, have you ever had it go splatter on things? No, it's a shocker. It's a shocker. It's like the worst lid ever. I did use that, so the base of this guy is that, and then the figure head again I showed in the video. Yeah, goes over everything just to get these splatters. At least if you move quick, you can mostly get it off. But just why didn't you product test it and find out that it sucks and then immediately change it? How much does it cost to change a lid, you guys? I mean, can you imagine if I went full rant on the interwebs about some of the failings of these products? But I can't. And I don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. It might just be, Claymore paint lid, exactly. 100 balls comes out, boom. I don't know. Maybe it's a major investment that they can't afford to change. I don't know. But I do. And I don't want to put that sort of negativity out there. I've learned to deal with it. Actually, really quick demo, just while we're here. When I close it, I fire in the hole. I close it like that and pop it closed. Clean off. Then I take it over and I wash it under the tap and give it a bit of a clean up. But every time, I just won't trust the bloody thing. True, Andy. What I thought, I did actually buy some Dysol bottles to even rebottle the bloody thing. Yeah, pipette's a really good idea. Yeah, lid even. How late is it for you? Yeah, I mean, there's ways around it, rebottle it, whatever, or, I've got so much of the, pardon my language, I've got so much of the bloody stuff, If I was one of those guys sitting around rebottling all my paints, you guys wouldn't be seeing any new content. That would be my life. I got to get stuff done. So yeah, this one, and without any weight because it was touch dry. By the time I sprayed this all around, by the time I'd gone through one rotation of the Evo, I could come around and it was dry and touch ready. It was just brilliant. And then I've gone over the top because it's a little, I wanted to just up the sheen a little bit. I've gone with this one, the X series. This one's just standard black. The standard X series are all gloss. Now I've sprayed it on dry. Yeah, don't spam Ryan about Gaia. Yeah, because gee, where would you have heard it from? Yeah, it's a little bit of. You'll see the difference here. This is. I'll release more of this. I'm kind of being careful about showing too much Gaia content because I don't want the poor guys to be spam idiots. Yes. Oh, excellent question, Mark. Thank you. I'll get to that just a second. Brilliant. I wanted to show you my straddle strategy that did not work. Now this base, that's Evo stippled on, and it gives that finish, that wonderful sheen. I didn't want to pull out the airbrush, so I stippled it on, and maybe 2 to 3 passes, you get this. And I thought that would be a cool matchup for the Ammonite. And it is. I couldn't agree with myself more. This one, I wanted the smooth surface again, so I've airbrushed it on. Now I went for a dry coat. I didn't, this is something we can get into in a different time. When you want it to be very glossy, apply wet coats with your airbrush. When you want it to dry, actually, that's sweat. Look at that. Everything just wipes off, even Linc grease. Yeah. When you want the sheen like this from your gloss paints, spray it on dry, and they'll dry semi-gloss. Cool. Oh man, do you know, you guys will laugh. Yeah, public grifters, give me free stuff. Do you know who was absolutely, I agree with Linc. Actually, that would be funny and self-serving at the same time. I like it both ways. That Warwick guy was hounding Ryan for on various subjects, just out of control, tagging him everywhere, sending him PMs. It was just It was absolutely really, really bad. I apologized because it was a little bit earlier in my relationship, my friendship with Ryan. Like nowadays, I would just I'd drop the bomb and just say, hey, that guy's a weirdo. But Ryan said, no, it's cool. I get it. Red flags on that guy instantly. That guy, it took us forever to boot him, but Ryan kicked him out within 5 minutes of joining his Facebook group because Ryan's all over it. Ryan knows. Ryan is sharp. I default to Ryan on those sort of human choices now. I've been isolated in Japan, so I can spot it there, but outside of it now, I'm a sitting duck. Okay, Mark. Mark asked and Mark's partially to blame for our love of Sydney too. I'm just putting that out there, Mark. We had such a good time there. Hey, Mike, was that the guy? Yeah. That was him. You saw that, yeah. And it wasn't the first time, Mike. He had moments where he was like a really nice dude. He did. There's a nice dude waiting to come out of that poor guy. But then he would just ruin it by going nuts. And that was one of the cases too. And he decided that it was me, even though Tristan confessed to doing it. And again, it's not Tristan's fault because the poor, you reap what you sow. If you're being a bit of an asshat to people over a 6-month period, and they have to make a choice on whose posts to remove, guess whose posts get volunteered for removal immediately. So, you bring that on yourself kind of thing. But I've been, my 2-year anniversary for Patreon came up. I wasn't even aware of it. They sent me an email and said, hey, congratulations, you're still here. So I've only had 2 people kind of go a bit funny with me over 2 years. So, it looks like I'm up for 1 a year. So 2019, this is my 3rd year on the platform. I'm open to applications for Community Weirdo now. So no red flags on you guys, but it could happen. Now, Mark mentioned the base, and this was one thing I wanted to talk about because I think asking for volunteers. No, Stephen, you're well out of luck, mate. Your Tomoe has signed off on you, so no, can't do it. Can't do it. This is where Nature's saying this is where Trog develops Dave's syndrome, and from Black Books. This is a straddle strategy, and it's one of the things that I feel is something I need to learn, and I've failed with. Slight fail. I'm only 80% happy with this groundwork. It's still probably. No, Mike, you do the most awesome choices. I mean, the dude and what's her name, Rocket Girl? They're really cool choices. I love them. They're brilliant. The base, I'm 80% happy with this. Yeah, man, and it's hard to get Tomoe to sign off. Tomoe hasn't signed off on Ryan, for example. But she understands that I do need that kind of bromance in my life. So when she saw all the Christmas party shenanigans, Tomoe also said, we need to get to Sydney for you so you can also have a bit of you can go to parties and have a bit of fun. Because up here where we are, there's nothing happening. So yeah, there's that. So I'm 80% happy with the base. I still think it's the best base I've done. I'm 80% happy. Colors, boom, nailed it. Textures, pretty good. The dryness and what have you. That's my first big bush. And phrasing. Read into that what you will. I did grow up in Asia. So, but then again, that's something I could mention over beers or not. And so I'm 80% happy, but there's overhang. Oh, Brisbane. Going in dry, sloppy pullouts here. I know. The Brisbane community's been a bit of a nightmare for me. I don't know. It might be my fault. I want to own my failures in life. You know, I'm a big boy. But I don't know what I've done wrong. I have not been able to hit it off. Well, Adam, wow, you know. I don't know what I've done. I've just not been able to hit it off with the Brisbane community, and but they've been very they've been very small-minded. They've been very cliquey. Leadership's just been a bit odd. The main guy who runs the main couple of guys who run it, they're, pardon me for saying this. I've got, yeah, we're noticing that. See, I'm from Brisbane when I was a kid, and I've come back here, and now I understand what other people are saying. I'm like, dude, Queensland's weird. I feel it now. But I feel one of the sad things about the Brisbane community that's present, I haven't met them all. I don't know all of the people. So, you know, this is not a sweeping statement, but the people, the loudmouths who are in charge of the community, who have put themselves in front of the community here on social media, are very demanding and very know-it-all-y without having demonstrated that they have the experience or results to back up those skills. And that is a lethal combination. Not good lethal either. It's bad lethal. You don't go on there, put yourself in front of people if you can't produce. So I just think that's a really wrong thing to do, personally. I think they might have it in them, and apparently they're very unhappy about me. They say, we don't like, this is the feedback I've got from people. They said, yeah, we're not happy with that Lincoln guy because he thinks he's better than us. Now, number one, I don't. But number two, for this stuff, this thing that I've devoted my life to, yes, I am better than they are. That's just a thing. That's a thing. Why? What's wrong with that? And that's why I get asked to do the the panels and the demos and stuff. I mean, I work on it and I produce things anyway. So I feel it's a little bit of a shame that we need a bit of humility to improve. And again, that's where I'm going with this base concept. I'm sorry to get off target, Mark. My base is about 80%. The suit's pretty good. I think the suit is close to dead on for what I wanted. It's a fast, clean look that's appealing to maybe newer folks to Machine & Krieger, Gunpla, and Warhammer folks as well. And using acrylics, it's about what we can do. I can maybe, the night vision goggle look might be a bit better with a bit of practice. And there's also, I don't know what I need to improve with the acrylics look just yet. So I'm open to it. There's that. Yeah, I know, right? And you guys instill me with the confidence too. Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, I've done this professionally, full time for what, 10, 12, 15 years, I guess. Yeah, I feel odd needing to justify myself to these fellas. And even when we've met in person, Tom Ware did not sign off the leader of the community there. Stephen, you'll like this one. He was very know-it-all-y and acted very odd with me, but I understand what it is. He's very defensive, and I think because they've dominated their small community for some time, they're worried about losing their positions, which of course I'm not interested in doing. I'd much rather just be a support resource for them and continue doing on what we do. But anyway, that's the little drama in plastic world. I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. The Sydney community has been the most welcoming. Perth's pretty good, but Sydney people have been great with us. We don't know why. Maybe it's because the big city thing. I just don't know. Melbourne's been a mixed bag. Some awesome folks from there, but there's also been there's been a similar sort of feeling to the Brisbane feeling there. And I think I've either rubbed some people the wrong way, which would be my fault, or I've accidentally intimidated some people, which again, I really don't want to do. I'd rather be supportive and helpful. I don't mean to do it, but that just is what it is. Maybe it will work out over time. It's hard to say. one of the things, now I'm studying up on bases. I'm looking at both scale modeling and fantasy people. The fantasy people have some wonderful bases to look at. So this one is kind of a mix, taking inspiration from all sources. And, oh really? Yeah, Simon, that's exactly the sort of feeling. It's a very stubborn, and heaven forbid, something you say that something they've done is not right. It's a really weird sort of feeling, a weird sort of vibe. With the fantasy bases, some of them have what one of my buddies called the mushroom effect. You know, they're bigger on top and smaller on the bottom. Whereas I noticed the scale model ones tend to be more closed in. Now I've done both poorly with this. That's why that part I will say that it's a little bit of a fail. To completely nail the scale model approach, I should have extended the cladding on the base up over here so that this would not be visible. This would be black at the end, as would the side here. All of the parts so the side of the base would have gone like that. That would have been the decided scale model look. Now the fantasy look, of course, would have these extending out further to be more of a detail. So I failed by straddling. Again, put that in the big book of Linc innuendo. I did not do either one well. So I consider that a slight fail with this one. So my apologies for letting you down with that. So what I'll do is, and it was because I was nervous and scared. I've never done the mushroom top. We'll call it that from now on, eh? I've never done the mushroom top. So I'm nervous about how far to go with it. So again, with my methodology, I'll take it a little bit further on more bases this year and see what we can do with it. And I'll take it further and further until there should be now. Remember, I'm a big deal. There should be a book. Don't tell that to Brisbane people. They'll use that as proof. I'm sure there's some lovely Brisbane people. I feel really bad, but that's just what's happened. Anyways, gosh, it's uncomfortable. And yeah, so I can't hang out with them. Okay, this is between us, but a couple of them have kind of come down and made me go out, meet them privately, and it just got very awkward and uncomfortable very quickly. And I think that upset them as well, because I kind of, the weekends, I want time off from this world sometimes. Much as I love it, you can't do something 6-7 days a week. You need some break, right? But they wanted a piece of me all weekend, I thought, can't always do it. Boundaries, dude, boundaries. So some people got upset because I have boundaries, which is kind of, it's a little bit inappropriate, really, isn't it? I mean, that's one of those situations where you get called a dick for other people being a dick to you. Pardon my French, but that's exactly the syndrome. I don't have the fancy word for it, but that's what it is. Anywho's, sorry, don't make me rant about that. Oh, I can rant in Discord where it's not recorded. Muffin top. Let's go with I got mushroom top. We'll call it muffin top. Let's try that next. I'll get brave. I'll get the bottle up, and I'll try that in the future. I've got some ideas I'd like to test out with that. Yeah, that's a good name for it, actually. I'm not going to say it, but that's exactly how you shorthand that. It's exactly that. I'll muffin top bases. It's something I'll work on as I get more brave. See, I've had the little success with this one. We'll work on it, and I'll try to do that. So this year, that's something that I definitely want to work on. I'm going to share my goals with you so that I can't wimp out. I want to improve on figure painting and share that with you. This one is easily my best figure paint, easily, and basing. I think that's definitely something to focus on this year. And this is my first attempt at it. First one for 2019. The bar is set, and let's improve from here. Cool. Okay, I think I better wrap that up there. I did allow for Q&A. Do you want to do Q&A now, or should we do it in Discord? Because I've gone over my hour allotment because we were talking about dicks. I can swear at the end of live streams because no one's going to watch this through for an hour. I'll switch over to the Discord app. So we'll wrap this up. I don't want it to look too long when you poor folks click in to have a look at it. And I'm on 4G now, so I've probably blown my data, my data band for today. But I hope that was good. I hope that was good. I very happy with this one. Base 80%, suit I'm 90% happy. But this year, onwards and upwards, we'll do more of this. 3 tutorials coming. The painting the base work for it, a weathering video, and then the painting the figure. The figure was probably that was most interesting for me to shoot, because shooting it made me try quite hard, and I'm really happy with how she looks. Old Harriet. All right, cool. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, guys, and I appreciate the banter, etc. That worked really well, and we'll chuff over and have a bit of a chat. I want to hear from you guys over in Discord now. Thank you very much. Okay, later guys. Thank you.